Welcome back, everybody. Just a reminder, it's Lemon Kiwi. I'm here with Jake, and we are here at the World Cup, the finals for Bracket C to determine who will be advancing to the group stage tomorrow. It is do or die, and it is Italy versus Sweden.
And we just got the pleasure of peeking in on Italy v Japan, the match that brought Italy here to challenge Sweden for the chance to get out of this early stage, get out of the elimination phase and face some of the tougher teams in the bracket. Sweden, I would certainly call them the overdog here. I mean, Italy, they had a really scrappy match against Japan, which contrasted against Sweden's really a drubbing of Colombia. You really can't compare the two. So Sweden looking to set the pace, continue that sort of aggression, again with the teleporter. We'll see if that makes some big difference in terms of their position on point.
But hey, we're seeing compositions we're a little bit more used to. The Mirror Reaper Doom. Interesting rotation from Heartbeat, left side, trying to find a flank. Sweden set up camp on the point. Elevote low, but just more ult charge for Epps. And meanwhile, Italy losing two. This is a fight reset. And on a round like this, I think Sweden will get a great advantage playing on the defense and holding that choke point.
Just an outplay by the Doomfist there. Sweden, they take a more decisive move to point. Heartbeat, he's still clearing the flank, and by that time, he's just a little too late to get his punch in, and Erky sends him flying into a wall as he tries to retreat. So that Doomfist matchup so critical here, and great rock, but it finds nothing here. Erky, good initiation.
Yeah, Heartbeat initiated, going for more, spotting someone in closet. Sweden taking a second to heal up. Snola is low. Now Prelude take advantage here. Coalescence helping Italy push forward. Sweden still have their shields up, taking the time to go into closet to get their cooldowns, get healed up, but the pressure from Italy is so strong, they should be able to take back the point here.
Epps does commit his own Coalescence, but that feels like a big mistake. I mean, they're already down 2 frags at the moment that he commits that ult, and it's a total cleanup for Italy back into a dominant position. Epps, if he had had that Coalescence, I would say that Sweden has a great way to retake here, but now the path is far from clear. It's really going to come down to these Doomfist execution. They both have the meteor strike available. They're both probably looking to get extremely aggressive on the back of it, but it's Italy in defensive position. They can posture however they want, and oh no.
Oh, and Lil Young, I love this. He's going to be in the back of Sweden. Death Blossom, they can't ignore it, but mostly absorbed. Sweden barely surviving, down at least 1 shield. Italy disengaging towards the point. Job is done.
Can't fight without their Reaper for Italy. They're forced to give up that choke point. Now Sweden, they've accomplished the first test, but can they actually flip this point? Heartbeat looking for an initiation, wants to shut down the flank from Erky. A little bit of trading going on the flank, but neither team wants to move forward. I like this from Sweden. They're just waiting for their Orisa, getting 6 players. They've already progressed past the choke, so they're just holding that sort of progress. And it looks like starting to try to take control of the flank as well.
Gravitic Flux exchange from both sides. Barrier only ready from Admar. Italy much more healthier because of this, as Erky went for an engage, but Coalescence from Epps not there to support him. Barrier too late from Gustav, and the flip, all that advantage, all those resources Sweden just invested, not getting them the clean fight win, and Italy hold on.
Gustav, the sound barrier not charged up in time. He was so painful. He was on 99% just when he needed it. Does get it off, but already loses a couple teammates before that moment. So Italy, once again, in control of the point, looking to take this flanking attack by Lil Young. It's very hard to clear a Reaper from this position, especially if you're distracted by everyone else on Team Italy attacking from the other side.
Sweden exhausted of ultimates, but not out of this yet. Snilla on a flank dodges the rock, using the pillars as protection, pressuring the tanks. This forces Italy back towards the point. Azo was stunned. Lil Young trying to protect him. As Sweden, they got the space. TP at the back. Keep an eye on that Reaper and what Snilla can do while they're distracted. Snilla's low. Heartbeat slams onto the supports. The fade out from the Moira. She's able to survive, but supports down for Italy. Snillo and 2 Erky with the finish. Sweden be able to flip it in time.
Sandwich between a Reaper and a Doomfist. That's where Italy found themselves, but at least they've earned 99% point control. All they have to do is win 1 fight, but that's easier said than done in this position. Epps does have that Coalescence advantage by an entire ultimate charge here, so really this fight's going to be brutal for Team Italy. I mean, should be the Coalescence is all that Team Sweden will need to get the cleanup. It's such a key ult in this situation, and you know, it's really only Dragon Eddie with the Gravitic Flux to try and answer that, but again, it can be tough. Look how split up Sweden is. They're not giving any good opportunities for a huge Gravitic Flux.
Epps already has to fade out. Italy rotating behind them. Gravitic Flux from Dragon Eddie, but Italy have lost their Moira. Less healing available. They need to win this fight quick, but Erky with 3 still with the 4th. Sweden clean, and we're heading into the final fight. Who will take this first round?
Exactly as expected for Team Sweden, but they win with just 1 ult to contrast that. Running into some technicals. No, we're okay. We're back. Our stream is live. And they once again, Sweden holding the corner here, trying to set up a rush, and it's coming in instantly.
Oh, Italy able to disengage, dodging the Meteor Strike. Death Blossom from Snillo, and equally from the other side from Lil Young. Italy still trying to break through. Right side, Sweden, Orisa crushed. Elevo receiving that barrier. Sweden still trying to keep Italy at bay. Heading into the last couple seconds of this round. Someone has to touch. Sweden still in control. Italy starting to stabilize behind the shields with the Coalescence behind them. Heartbeat with 2, killing the supports of Sweden. Italy might have just won this.
Lolsha still walking back from spawn with the supercharger. He's just not there in time. Heartbeat attacking, cleaning up, doesn't want to let the members of Team Sweden regroup. It's great play. The supercharger comes down, but just too little, too late. Italy in total control of the point, and they are going to take round 1. Your underdogs in this match, I would say, and looking quite clean here, although certainly that's far from dominant fight from either team. I mean, so many fights going both ways, unexpected pickups going both ways, so just shows how explosive and chaotic this match could be.
And I've been talking to IOStack's contenders coach, and he's worked closely with someone like Asso, someone like Heartbeat, and says they are standout players, easily Academy NA level. So although you might have not heard these names now, World Cup is where you're going to hear them from here on out. Keep an eye on someone like Asso and even Heartbeat, and even Lil Young has been standing out. So I'm excited to see how close the series are going to be, especially against how stacked Sweden look.
Yeah, definitely. The team with more experience, that's Sweden, but Italy, I mean, Dragon Eddie had such a great performance on D.Va in last year's World Cup. I still remember that. Still remember his great plays, great movements, and we've seen yet more of that come out from him on the Sigma to hear that he can continue to make more plays on. So we'll see which Doomfist can get the better initiation here. Tends to be important. Heartbeat not finding the roll-up, but it might actually work out for him.
Oh, almost got that punish onto Gustav. Losing that speed so crucial. Losish low. Shield's broken. No one can really engage quite yet. Need to regenerate these cooldowns, but Sweden have the better position. Losish staying safe. Italy still trying to make the space. They've gotten their toes on the point, but Heartbeat sneaking up. The Sweden not getting the finish quite yet. Now you're getting into the part of the fight where Coalescence matters. Freyu unleashes it first. More resources for Italy. More healing. Epps matches it on the other side. Later fight advantage here for Sweden, but they've lost their Orisa. Only one shield remains, and now it's up to the DPS. How are they going to dance around this pillar? While Doomfist, they collapse, but no one gets the punish, and this could be anyone's fight.
Sweden needs to turn it around quickly, though. I mean, it's a 6v5 on point. This Orisa shields, they're adding up one after another, but Eeps finds the counter kill. Orisa will be back to the fight soon, and the B keeps it alive.
Sweden realized how important this fight is, using the barrier without even worrying about the Gravitic Flux coming online. And this advantage allowed Sweden to get this first cap to start, that they could stall this, get their lead up. Italy, though, will be coming back with Gravitic Flux, and there's no barrier response.
How did Sweden do that? I mean, losing your Orisa and failing to respond with a quick counter kill usually means an unwinnable fight, but somehow they bring it back there. Gustav getting that extra B charge off the extra spam his team's taking, using it to great effect here, although Dragon Eddie does have that Gravitic Flex coming online, and Gustav uses beat. He's got no answer here.
I mean, are Sweden going to want to play split here? They're just trying to get that first pick, just stuff into Italy, but they've lost Dragon Eddie early. That Gravitic Flex, Urki with 2. Sweden just collapsing onto Italy, breaking in. And this is a large lead now, 2 fights in a row for them.
That's so rough for Italy. They had the ultimate advantage there, but now it feels like it's gone. Sweden rushing in and wiping them before they can really get those ults out, find any efficacy at all. And Sweden, they bought themselves a lot of time to start building up some of those key counter ults. And once again, I'd expect to see them assaulting Italy in the spawn. But now Italy taking the high ground approach, making that a lot more difficult. I like this movement from them as a team.
But still no barrier. Dragon Eddie sees the halt. There's the Gravitic Flux, throws up 2. Meanwhile, Supercharger easily destroyed there for Sweden. Italy using a lot in this fight. 3 ultimates pushing back Sweden at the desperate point. Sweden just want to throw bodies on the point. Have the largest lead possible going to the next fights, but it was expensive for both teams. Italy will stand tall.
Italy, they do get the flip, but it cost them both tank ults and both support ults. At least they've got the Death Blossom, they've got the Meteor Strike to work with, and Sweden also blowing their ults, using a supercharger there. Maybe a little bit questionable, not keeping track of the ultimate economy situation. I mean, Italy had such a dominant spot to win that fight. I'm surprised to see an ultimate like supercharger come out, something that you really need to be protecting as a team to make work. But oh no, Lil Young. Oh, but he's scouted.
He's able to race back into safety, but Asso ready for the halt, Heartbeat ready for the drop. Meteor Strike not used yet. Now they have to deal with Sweden. The Reaper was able to TP into the back. Elevo does rock Lil Young, and Italy down a lot of damage now. Have to rely on Heartbeat. Was able to get that Meteor Strike, hurting the tank line of Sweden. As it's a scrappy fight, chasing after that Reaper. That cooldown is called out. Heartbeat engages, should get the finish, and he does. and Italy barely hang on.
Man, Heartbeat just looking so good on this Doomfist, so well practiced. He's ready. He knows the moments when he should attack, when go for evacuate picks, and the moments he just needs to play with his team, defend against the enemy Doomfist and the enemy Reaper, deny them the position they want to take. So great flexibility from Team Italy. Started to tick up that progress meter. Hopefully they can take the lead with just a little bit more hold in this fight, but now we've got a more even ultimate scenario. Both teams with some tools in the bank to work with.
First to 3 and everything on the line, the spot for tomorrow. And here, Italy want to take this first map, holding control, but their tank Asso is so low. Look how Sweden, Snillo with 2 Death Blossom from Lil Young. Not able to stop Italy quite yet, but Sweden up by a bunch. Should be able to get the flip here. There is time for Italy to burn, to keep swinging around, but they do have a good lead. All they have to do is win one fight, and they'll take the map.
Adnar dancing around in the skybox. So is Freyu just trying to delay, get closer to that 99. At this point, Italy is about one flip away from winning. It's not guaranteed. I mean, Sweden will have 10% to touch the point, but Italy really needs this fight win. But Sweden, they've got so much left. Snillo holding onto that Death Blossom through the last fight. Urki, same with the Meteor Strike. They've got all their offensive utility and both tankles ready to take the fight straight to Italy.
Sweden, are they going to initiate first? Supercharger bomb. Supercharger, use first, Gravitic Flex, held on to. Heartbeat slams down on 2! Italy, so strong, initiating first onto Sweden. 93+%. A quick flip for Italy, but like you said, some time and Heartbeat just killed everything.
It might be possible for Sweden to touch, but yeah, they have to switch to the Hammer and go for desperation mode. It's so hard to win these fights in the long term without an Orisa, so Sweden needs some huge pickoffs coming in from their DPS, but they're trying to block the Hammer and he can't touch. Oh, but Gustav comes in to say, no, he can't get it!
No one could touch! Are you kidding me? Italy, the underdog, takes the first map against Sweden!
That's so huge for Italy, especially the way they got it done in the end. Decisive initiations, making it work. Wow, just great stuff from both sides there. Very back and forth maps, even though it goes 2-0 towards Italy. Italy, though, somehow coming out on top of those scrappy fights. I mean, for me, what it comes down to is Italy is not committing on the fights that look terrible for them. At least not as much as Sweden is. I've seen Sweden too many times using that supercharger in a fight that it looks unwinnable from my perspective, or same for the Coalescence on that control center.
It's still so back and forth, though. Like both, it felt like both these maps could have gone, or both those rounds could have gone either way. We're going to hybrid Kings Row. Again, neutral maps. This is all about the loser choosing the side, and of course, on Kings Row, you'd assume defending first would be favorable.
Defending is strong on KR just because it's so likely to get full held somewhere on this map, so it lets you know what you need to achieve on the attack, so you can maybe strategize differently based on a different sort of defense. But the same applies on offense. You know, it's a tough attack, so you might want to know where do we need to commit on defense, where should we go all in on the hold. So it really goes both ways. It's one of those things where it's going to depend on what you're bringing out, but it's also a map where we could see some Bastion gameplay, could see some Pharah, some Mei, you know, so it might shake up that traditional Reaper Doom, but once we get into the Streets phase, maybe third point, I would expect to see the Reaper Doom return to the scene.
And both these teams looking for a strong showing here at BlizzCon. Both these teams last year didn't make BlizzCon. For example, Italy, 5th place at the Paris qualifier. On the other side, not getting through to the Bangkok qualifier. So both these teams like at BlizzCon, now that there's no group stages to worry about, this is the showing all eyes are on them and how far they can get in this one spot to go up against teams like SK, United States, South, and others, Canada. It's insane.
There's some really tough teams coming up later in the bracket, but for now, Italy, they just have to survive the onslaught of Sweden, and so far they're doing more than surviving. They're coming out on top. They're thriving, and for me, it's got to come down to Heartbeat on the Doomfist. So huge on the Doomfist, finding big meteor strikes, comboing with his teammates, staying alive throughout the long fights. Whereas Sweden, you know, things have been a little bit choppier for them than in the Columbia Series. Maybe getting a little too overconfident in themselves, committing to some fights that they should probably just be giving up, taking this off reset. I feel like a little too often they've been just a little overconfident, you know, pushing their resources beyond what they can really achieve. And Italy, to their credit, they've been stable. They've been ready to punish those sort of late fight commitments. Some teams, you know, they sort of freak out when you commit in the late in the fight, and it sort of has that extra effect of the team losing confidence in their position. But Italy, they're moving quick. They're moving decisively with their advantages. There's been a couple times that Sweden has been able to swing those long fights, but so far, overall, Italy seems like they're always turning it in their favor first. Sweden's in the position that they need to swing the fight, and you know that's already the disadvantageous position. So that is a control map, you know. So take it with a grain of salt. Italy,
Anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly. And Italy seemed like a very strong brawling team. They want to go in, fight as a unit, fight on top of one another, and just swarm the enemy team, which is much more effective on the controlled game type as opposed to your hybrid, escort, assault, where you're going to have to move through the map more fluidly, take fights around very different types of geometry as the map progresses. Control is a lot more just repeating the same fight over and over again, same positions over and over again. Can be a bit more focused on execution, less focused on tactics, whereas with all the rotation possibilities presented on a map like Kings Row or Dorado, things can get very complicated, very different. You might see Reapers taking sort of different angles or maybe even entirely different strategies coming out, such as the Bastion.
And I think this is also the first time that Sweden has been challenged this bracket. Just going up against Colombia, I don't think we saw Sweden at their highest peak. While as Italy, this you spoke about confidence. This is a team that looks confident just by watching them play. Coming out from a win against India, coming out against a Game 6 win against Japan. And you can tell just by the way that Heartbeat plays. He plays with no fear. You have Showdown, Atlantic Showdown winners and OWL players on the other side. And Heartbeat's playing like this is just a regular ranked game for him.
Yeah, that's certainly the only way to play Doomfist in the current metagame. You can't be scared. You can't give any respect to the opponent, Doomfist. It's just the nature of DPS. When the meta is mirrored and you're both playing the same things, it really comes down to the damage dealers winning those duels, asserting dominance over the map to really make space for the rest of their team. Whereas the tanks end up generally just mirroring each other's activity. It's really the combos that are the difference maker there, but it's up to the DPS to actually capitalize on those combos, and that's where Heartbeat's been so strong. And I also want to give major props to Dragonetti. Played so well last year, as I remember watching him at the qualifiers, but now at BlizzCon, keeping it up. I mean, the pressure is undoubtedly higher here. There's no qualifiers, there's no warm up. You know, we're just getting right into the elimination game. So Italy's staying alive so far and up 1-0 in this series. Sweden, we thought they were the overdogs. We thought they would dominate this group, but Italy proving scrappy, proving like they can maybe take this series.
And it shows that experience levels don't always tell the full story. Sweden, we've already talked about how much experience they have. And on the side of Italy, we didn't get to talk too much. But someone like Dragonetti and Adnar, I believe, Samsung Morning Stars and Contenders EU. And the rest of Italy, from what I know, tier 3 players and experience in tournaments here and there. But the difference in experience doesn't... Italy took the first map, and it's talking about synergy and communication from Italy that looks so strong. And of course, control, anything can happen. Italy out-brawling that. But on Kings Row, you'll see someone, of course, look better. And Italy, let's see if they can keep that up.
The real test for Sweden will be, can your experience help you in the long series? I think that's where experience really is valuable. You know, in those sort of control brawl game types, your experience is of limited use. I mean, it's really just about executing, out-brawling the other team, winning the first fight, and snowballing an ultimate advantage from there. Playing the ult economy very effectively. But on a map like Kings, or on these assault attack, any map with an attack defend phase, it's going to really change things up. You're going to have to think in different ways based on different objective situations, and playing strategically around those things, that's where a more experienced team should have an advantage. But the keyword is should. Let's see what Italy can do.
Sweden choosing to defend first. Italy already rocked in spawn. But it's okay. How are they going to rotate this towards the right? Maybe send the Reaper towards the left. You've got to keep an eye on that hotel side, because that's where all the flanks are going to happen too.
Yeah, traditionally, we see a long trading phase here, but looks like Italy wants to take the fight. Sweden starts it off first. Good initiation from Erky, disrupting the enemy team.
Now waiting for the initiation of these Doomfists again once they have their cooldowns out. And as the longer this fight goes, the more you have to worry about Coalescence, where Freyu just that much farther ahead, getting Cole first, pressure to the front line, past those shields, the extra healing you need to swing a fight. Italy will have Coalescence a little bit earlier than Epps, not unleashing it quite yet, and not being able to save Heartbeat. Might have just killed this fight for Italy.
Both Doomfists fall, but Sweden commits the Coalescence, going to chase down Italy into spawn. They need to get a lot of kills to make it worth it, but so far they're finding them. Resetting Italy back to the spawn, but Italy, I mean, they don't really have any ground to lose here, and now it's Freyu with the Coalescence advantage. Absolutely massive here. If nobody can stun this Coalescence and shut it down, oh, another delay into Heartbeat. That will buy some more time for Epps to start charging his ult.
That was almost an unintended rock, but sure. Italy, Coalescence, but now Sweden, that was a longer fight, so you're looking at Gravitic Flux, Supercharger, a lot of things online for Sweden. Maybe even a Meteor Strike Halt combo. Italy, gotta engage first with this Cole, see if they can push Sweden back. Gravitic Flux is ready from Elibo, tries to damage Lil Young, able to get back into safety. Freyu supporting him with the Coalescence. Erky trying to sneak up on someone, now it's Meteor Strike for Sweden. Thrown up, Halt set up, slammed right onto Adnar. Heartbeat though, kills the Moira of Sweden. healing down, and he's even going for more. Italy have taken this fight and the payload.
Such great plays from Hearthbeat. Again, sees the Meteor Strike come out from Urki, instantly Meteor Strikes, and has the presence of mind to perfectly time it to take down Urki while he's still stunned by his own animation, still can't escape from the enemy Doomfist. And once you take down your counterpart in this Doomfist 1v1, you can often run rampant through the backline, getting kill after kill, and that's exactly what Hearthbeat did here. So good by Lil Young as well, setting up in the flank, trying not to get scouted here, although it looks like Sweden, they are aware of the possibility. They go clear the flank. Very smart, so important there. You can't let a Reaper start the fight on the flank.
Now things stabilize, equalize here at the choke. What I'm really looking at, Gravitic Flux versus Barrier Sweden. Should be able to survive that one. Holding on to it, now it's ready to engage. They get Holton into the Gravitic Flux of Dragon Eddy. Barrier just in time from Gustav and Urki. Punishing Adnar on the other side, and Sweden is going to get more kills out of it.
Urki, though, goes down for his troubles, and without speed, there's no way to retreat from this engagement. Sweden, they're fully committed to this location, but looks like they're holding strong for now.
Supercharging for Italy, extra damage. They should be getting more kills in this. The healing so strong for Sweden. Death Blossom, the shield there of Italy. They're able to surpass it. Lil Young with 2. Italy just being able to break out of this took them a little bit of time, but still good timing so far.
The chaos favors Italy there. Even though Urki does pick off a Lucio, he dies for his troubles, and the problem with fighting that close to the attacker's spawn is that the attackers don't need anything better than a 1-for-1. In fact, you're hoping for a 1-for-1 just so your spawners will get back quick and turn that 1-for-1 into a 1-for-nothing. Italy, they want to hold this forward ground close to the end of the cap. If they can accomplish that, it should be a clean cap for them. But Elevote does have that Gravitic Flux, and if we can find some juicy targets, that could be some opening picks that Sweden needs.
Halt, Meteor Strike, or the Gravitic Flux, Elevote. Gonna pull the trigger first. Doesn't seem to have affected Italy that much as Heartbeat looks for the halt, but didn't get the one he was looking for. Now with the support of his Coalescence, he can play a little bit more aggressive, even with the halt setup from Asso. So clean, it's pushed Sweden into a corner, and Italy could almost drive this payload to point B easily. Sweden can't really do much.
The combos come out from Sweden, but they're just not finding anything. I mean, Gravitic Flux got something, but it's just no follow-up for Team Sweden. They're getting a little bit discombobulated here by the aggression from Team Italy, and at least Gustav has a sound barrier to potentially shut down that Gravitic Flux from Dragon Eddy, but that's a trade that you like on the offense, especially with Adnar coming up on his sound barrier first. If he can get that online once Gustav's beat his force, that could be a major turning point for Team Italy.
Urki, Meteor Strike, halt, same setup, same combo. Can he do it better? Gravitic Flux first, though, countered by the barrier from Gustav. Now, Meteor Strike from Urki for the halt setup. Italy already pushed back because they've lost Heartbeat. So Sweden with the stop here will really just slow down all this momentum that Italy had on Streets phase.
Here's where Sweden needs to plant their flag. They cannot let the card go too much further than this. 3 minutes on the time bank. They need to win a few more fights in this position. Keep burning the clock down. Italy, it can be difficult to cross this corner. The defenders have a big advantage, but Bongo right out in the open for Sweden.
Yeah, the Coalescence can take it down, but the rest of the team are so hurt. Pushed back, and Heartbeat not saved in time. So the same result, a soft fight reset, in fact, for Italy.
Although Epps manages to hold his own Coalescence, which will give him the perfect answer to the Supercharger coming out from Asso. These trades going back and forth, but Sweden managing to keep some of their bank in check, not going too crazy with their ultimate expenditure.
Gravitic Flux versus Barrier. The Supercharger I'm looking at for Italy. How can they use that damage advantage to push through? But oh, Sweden down their Moira, healing. They'll have to be a lot more careful. Play this slow. Play so that respawns can come back. But Italy pushing into them. They know they have this advantage, so they just keep killing Sweden. But at least they'll be able to prepare for their point C defense.
Also, Supercharger comes online just as Epps loses the Coalescence and times out, and without an answer to the Supercharger, Italy just wipes through Team Sweden. And now, Team Sweden, they haven't really managed to charge any ults from that fight. Nothing to speak of to get them out of the spawn. Dragon Eddy with the Gravitic Flux, Prey with the Coalescence. These are very, very dangerous ults to challenge without ults of your own. And Lil Young with the Death Blossom, just a little cherry on top here. Sweden, they've got to pull something out of their hat now.
Looking for a TP in the back, but Snillo just TP'd into Italy's back line. So Italy's going to see if they can destroy the front line first. Lil Young just explodes onto the point with a Death Blossom. Still alive. Italy, Coalescence, completely exhausted. Sweden just trying to retreat and take their time to keep contesting this. Italy, the payload's about to go home. 3 meters and tons of time for Italy to keep this one going. They're losing players here and there, but Sweden are bleeding a lot more. Italy, 126, about to finish the payload.
wait. Erky, though, comes back, kills his counterpart. So does Snillo. The DPS 1v1s go Sweden's way. That's the turn they exactly needed. So important in this match. I thought Italy had that cap, but Sweden, they're clawing their way back into this series, and it all starts now. This is the beginning of a potential full hold here at the end of last point. So important. Sweden, they need to get a dominant win here on King's Row. It's very possible to do if they can manage to just hold for the next minute.
Italy used almost everything in that last fight, but the hope is not gone yet. Sweden with the coalescence, even barrier. The support is there, and they have closer respawns. Italy pressured back, waiting out that coalescence there from Epps. Italy, okay, they have some time, but this could be last fight for them.
That decisive engage looks so good for Sweden, but they end up wasting the coalescence. A perfect speed from Adnar gets everybody out of there. Now Elevo's turn to initiate, and he picks up everybody into the Death Blossom. Just disgusting.
Kills! Are you kidding me? Incredible! Sweden making up for the control loss with a hold here. Italy, 25 seconds, it's not done.
And Gustav has the beat, so if I'm Sweden, just run it back one more time, speed in with the beat, get a single kill and you're good. And I love Gustav's position here. He wants to boop somebody in so that they're so deep they can't escape. Luckily, Dragon Eddie's on point, does scout him out, so it'll be a standard fight here.
Barrier for Sweden, not having to worry about a gravitic flux quite yet. Italy already taking a lot of damage. The barrier engage from Sweden is there. Time is running out, and Italy are getting pushed back. Asso needs to make space for his team. Lil Young's gonna do it for him. Death Blossom and Dragon Eddie by his side. Sweden barely lose anyone. They've only lost Erky through all of this. Lilsish might die, but Sweden, they have respawns.
An unchecked supercharger here for Team Italy. That could be deadly. Everyone picked up by the gravitic flux. Dragon Eddie pushing forward, splashing everybody in the corner. It's Dragon Eddie with a massive clean up here on the flank on the Sigma, just wiping through Team Sweden. Very impressive final fight there for Team Italy. I thought Sweden had it with the beat, but somehow Italy kites just enough to survive, gets right back in the fight, takes down Erky, and the unchecked supercharger is checkmate.
Sweden had coalescence during that, and Italy, Dragon Eddie, killing everything. What synergy? This is such a close match, and you would have not expected it.
Dragon Eddie's doing a great job of putting himself on the edge of life and death, and that's how you need to play Sigma. You want to be in such an aggressive position, maximizing your damage output, maximizing your splash, your ability to flank and pressure the enemy team using your own shield. But at the same time, if you overextend just an inch, you'll be killed by the Doom and the Reaper. So Dragon Eddie kind of skirting that line just perfectly. Throughout that fight, he was always in the flank, always harassing from an opposing angle to the rest of his team and his Orisa. So great heads-up positioning by Dragon Eddie. Keeps them in that fight, arguably. Keeps Sweden from being able to just focus down one target at a time. That dual front fight. So great stuff from Italy. They get the full cap, but Sweden, at least they ran down the time bank. It is an overtime cap, so this map is far from over.
Now on the defense, Italy might be going with a Mei, and this might be for those isolations, especially at that choke, but way more of a protective comp.
Yeah, Italy bringing out a more different defense. I like the potential here on Mei. I mean, it can work, especially if you start building up those blizzards. You can start to really snowball off that ability. It can be a solo team fight winner. But on the flip side, if you lose the first fight and Mei doesn't build much ult, it really feels like a chore to manage to build up that blizzard, and a Doofus can just be running through your backline, making you really question the Mei pick. So, you know, it's kind of a feast or famine choice for Italy, but I like that confidence in it.
I think Sweden sticking on the sniper to just not only scout, but maybe get that first shot. Italy exposing their composition already. Maybe not the Mei quite yet. Not getting that first shot, so sniper switching.
Just giving it one chance on the snipers, but Dragon Eddie too ready for that, ready for the hull, puts his shield up high and blocks any potential. So Sweden gonna bring out the Reaper Doom. The question is, can this Doom justify his existence against the Mei?
Ooh, Heartbeat a little bit late with that Mei wall, but it closes off the right side, forcing Italy towards the left. Sweden not getting the fight they wanted there. Moira down, so having to play this slow.
Although it's not the decisive fight they were hoping for potentially, it does send Heartbeat back to spawn. There's no way he can get back to the fight on the base. We have to switch to the Doomfist, so giving up a little bit of ult there, and potentially Sweden has an opening to cross the choke without much threat of opposition from Team Italy.
Erky looking for an engage, halted them up. Italy wounded, Asso so low. Sweden, look how they're commanding the space, taking their time with their cooldowns. Snillo rejoins, race back. Halt, set up from Italy. Coalescence, melting everyone away. And despite Italy look like they could have dropped it, they hold on to that defense.
First call coming out from Freyu. Ips doesn't have his online just yet, so there's no counter available. But now, again, ball back in Sweden's court. Now they're the ones with the coalescence advantage. Dragon Eddie, he does have the gravitic flux, but it can be a real challenge to catch players, especially as they speed through the choke. We'll see what Dragon Eddie can find. Combo with the hull.
I'm not sure if even the halt went through. I don't think he got anybody with the Prophetic Flex, so not the ideal setup from Italy. But Urki, looking for that setup with the halt, gets 1 and 2 with the Coalescence, but the Death Blossom from Will Young, much larger of an impact. Italy did lose some, and Urki thinks it's winnable, so Sweden with closer respawns can actually still take the point.
It's a nice turn for Italy, but just not enough. I mean, you're too close to the attacker spawn. The spawn advantage a little too significant here, so trading 3 for 3 should be the end of first point, although Italy, they do have a chance to recontest. Heartbeat, you can see him sneaking around the flank. If he can find a start-off kill, this could be rough for Sweden.
Italy sneaking behind. One last go. They got a touch now, and Heartbeat has to be the one to do it. Sweden clearing the skies and the ground with the Death Blossom too. But Sweden losing their Orisa, they got the point. Now Italy could get staggered. They're already down half their team. They got to get out.
Snillo playing well on the Reaper, staying alive. Nobody, Heartbeat, if he could just found one there, things could have been very different, but the punch doesn't connect. Italy, good attempt at the recontest. It could have been a big reward for the risk that they did take, but it does cost them. Now Sweden has a lot of ults in the bank to work with. Major advantage. So Italy, this next fight, really just going to be a sack situation. It'd be pretty unlikely for Italy to come out with the fight win. They just need to charge some ults and get some utility out of the side of Sweden.
Adnar favorably would like to get that barrier before Elevo goes for that Graphitic Flux. Snillow's in the back, and the halt still can just go ham into this Graphitic Flux set up by Elevo. And that barrier, like I said, on time from Adnar. And he still drops it despite them being down 2, especially their Orisa and their Doomfist, the biggest playmakers. Italy still can't turn it around yet.
I can't agree with that sound barrier. Adnar, that fight was certainly over. Italy, none of the wheels falling off there. That was a deeply misguided ultimate use there from Adnar. Pretty huge mistake on the Lucio. You cannot be wasting an ultimate like sound barrier. It takes too long to charge for something like that. And using it in a 4v6 scenario when you already have lost your main damage dealers, ooh, I don't know about that. It's going to end up costing the end of second point. Maybe they're running back in for a contest, but I mean, imagine with the beat, they may have had a chance there.
Urki looking for more, but Italy now responding with the Coalescence. This is already pushing Sweden back. They're taking their time, just advancing the cart. Italy playing too aggressive. Urki, Meteor Strike, looking for the hold. It's set up, does injure the front line, and they drop barrier from Sweden. Big advantage on this attack. They have so much time here at point C.
Sweden going to come out on top of this fight. Lots of ults going both ways. At least Italy, they're trading some frags. This Reaper is living unnaturally long time with the help of his Moira, delaying cart a lot, but Sweden, they've got 4 minutes on the time bake. If they can cap with more than a minute left, they've guaranteed themselves at worst a draw, but gives them a very good chance at just taking King's Row outright. So far, they looked really dominant here. Great kites on the support ultimates, and now it's Ep's turn to start the fight with Coalescence here. What can Italy do to deal with this?
The Graphitic Flux first from Dragonetti. No barrier from Gustav, but you have Epps with the Coalescence all the way at the back. Sweden, nice and healthy. Italy instantly lose their Orisa. Dragonetti so low. So much dying is going on in my ears, and Italy have closer respawns. Sweden losing that pressure they were working towards. Their front line is just melting. That'll be a reset.
Nice reset from Sweden, all going off the map, denying any additional ult farm. That is another mark of the experienced teams, knowing when to just hop off the map, take a complete reset. But Sweden, they committed everything to that. And now it's Adnar with the first sound barrier to come online, Heartbeat with the first Meteor Strike, Aso with the first Supercharger. All these key ultimates will be online first for the defense, which as the attacker, you need an advantage. You know, equal fights is not usually good enough. So Sweden, they're gonna have to make something out of nothing here for certain.
It's just been easy breezy for Sweden, and now they can spend this extra time to get that payload towards the end. Coalescence started, could punish Heartbeat here, he gets back into safety, but Dragonetti missing. And no shields at all for Italy. Sweden pushing them all the way back. Italy still see if they can make a big play happen with this Doomfist Meteor Strike, but to no avail. Now they just gotta see if they can play slow, hope that their tank line can make the space, but Sweden almost got that payload at the end.
Sweden, the high tempo play is paying off here potentially, but Supercharger potentially going unchecked here. Could be the start of something crazy. Freyu dropping the Coalescence, keeping his team alive, but needs to get some kills. The sound barrier, that will be devastating from Sweden. Snillo charging in on the Reaper, point blank with these Hellfire shotguns. Italy on desperation mode, switching to contest heroes. Just want to delay card, buy as much time as they can, but they've got a long way to go to get to that 1 minute time limit.
Prophetic Flux, the last goodbye from Sweden to Italy with love. They'll finish with 1 minute 55 on the clock.
Wow, Sweden executing an attack in a very, very small window there. I mean, the beat came online right when Adnar used it, popped it as soon as he could, but somehow the initiation from the Doomfist, from Epps with the Coalescence, able to find 2 kills before the beat comes down. So Sweden executing in a very small time window there. Very impressive stuff from them, having the confidence to commit, even knowing that they don't have the long-term advantage. They just know that they've got Cole right now, their Doom's ready to go, and they're confident. So making it work there, and with a 155 time bank, all they have to do is cap this first tick. Italy, they're needing to pull out something way more effective on that first defense. The Mei was kind of a bust. I mean, sort of worked, sort of delayed a fight, but it felt like those chain respawns for Italy meant that they were never really aggressing on defense. They were always holding the backup point, playing defensively. You want to be taking the fight to the attackers, especially in this meta. With Doomfist, it's so important to be initiating, not letting the enemy Doomfist simply flank and go wherever he wants and one-shot your all backline.
Well, Italy's going to go with this Mei strat again, and I think the issue with that first fight is that Heartbeat was just a little bit late on the wall. Sweden were able to come in, and maybe if you can just isolate 1 or 2, that's a few crucial seconds they can get, and that extra ult charge that neutral fight will give them.
The challenge for Italy is that they have to play so clean here. I mean, Sweden, they don't have to win fights. They just have to trade 1 for 1. 2 for 1 even. That's good enough because the attacker respawn is so much better than that of the defenders. But that's what you get for having a better offense time bank, and they're on cruise control really here to win King's Row, unless Heartbeat can find something huge. But now they know where Heartbeat is on the statue, so we'll see if the wall is as effective.
And just checking to see if Lil Young is hiding in a corner, but Sweden survived the wall, going towards the right. Look how far up Italy are playing. And that first pick means Sweden lose that speed advantage, just trying to win the shield war for the moment, as Italy holding the ground.
Sweden, they need to find a pick, need to find something. Without the Lucio, they're going to be a little bit heal starved. Epps running out of juice soon, but he does have that Coalescence, going to be able to rush in with the first Cole. Freyu, 75%. Can he survive long enough to get his Cole up, keep his team alive? We've seen a lot of fights just end because one more gets Cole first.
Oh, that wall from Heartbeat is big, but Epps gets around it. No, can he keep? He can't keep Voltage alive. Maybe could get a trade from the other side. Italy were so low. Nice and healed up now. The Sweden try to get around this wall from Heartbeat, which has been much more valuable this time. That's 2 consecutive fights now Sweden have lost.
First pull for Evs, but it doesn't get any value. As you said, what a huge Mei wall from Heartbeat. Isolates the Lolshis, and he ends up falling despite the Evs attempts to go flank all the way around the other side to heal him. I mean, that's just a beautiful Mei wall, mitigating the effectiveness of Coalescence and opening the fight there. Now, Sweden, they've got nothing really available coming up soon, and double take also available for Italy. This fight is looking very tough.
Going to initiate first. Dragonetti tosses him up. Elimo. Oh, he could get the finish, and he does. Sweden down 1 shield, and now down 2. Sweden, no frontline remaining. At least it was a quick lost fight. You don't have to worry about that ultimate, but you got to worry about 15 seconds left.
The only worry for Italy is, was that fight even too fast there? Although they went without the supercharger actually. So, oh, and I love this. Italy, thank you. Backing the point. They know that someone from Sweden is going to have to run in and contest this point, and you can just make them pay with their life. It's Elimo, but
can someone touch? No one can touch! And there is the draw. Italy will still be in the lead against Sweden.
Great stuff from Italy, drawing from a rough time bank. 2 minutes, usually enough to get the win on that King's Row with just 1 tick to get, but great proactive defense, I should say, from Italy. The first time it didn't work, but they were confident. They maybe have had a lot of success in practice, and as long as Heartbeat doesn't fall, not forced to take that long, slow Mei respawn, he's still able to stay in the fight, still able to constantly be applying those walls and disrupting the strategic goals of Team Sweden.
I mean, Heartbeat's just his ultimate flex player. Popped off on the first map on Doomfist, and then they swapped up to this Mei comp, which the first defense, they were able to slip by, so then we immediately got rid of the Mei. But on the second defense, you saw a lot more value from these walls.
Just so much more clinical from Italy on that second defense. They knew what the only reason that first attack worked for Sweden was trading 3 for 1. I mean, normally that's not good enough, but on King's Row, the defender spawns so far away from that first point. You really need to keep your whole team up to maintain a long-term defense. In this case, able to make it work in that overtime. I mean, in a sense, Mei is strong in the overtime in that she does give you that wall, the first fight potential on the wall, and then the closeout potential of Blizzard. Those are pretty big, but normally we see the Doomfist getting a little more value against Maycom, so they're doing a great job of shutting down Urki, not letting him get those pickoffs that normally you see come to a team that doesn't run the Doomfist.
And to have a draw after one team had 2+ minutes to attack, it's kind of surprising how Italy were able to hold on.
I would definitely call it a comeback. Lots of crazy, scrappy fights there, though, throughout the map of Kings Row. And lots of, from both teams, really, lots of great strategic kiting. I mean, we've seen anytime you commit an ult and the enemy team's just a little bit too far back, a little bit not aggressive enough, they'll just instantly speed out of the fight, instantly just decline the engagement, and you're just -1 ult, and you just reset and immediately in a better position on the attack, able to just retreat, dodge that fight, skip out on the supercharger, skip out on the coalescence, and come in with ultimate advantage. So that's heads up plays from really, I've seen that from both teams so far this series, which is something that you don't see as often in lower levels of play. So both of these teams showing that they have that strategic chops. They know how to play the game on more than a personal level. They understand conceptually how to create advantages and how to build full team strategies around those advantages.
I'm still so surprised about this series, and in a good way. The fact that maybe Sweden came into prelims thinking they could easily get out of bracket. You underestimate a lot of people and a lot of names that you don't know that you haven't played against. I don't imagine these guys have scrimmed being from completely different places, but Sweden are sweating, and now if you're a Sweden fan, you're kind of worried if they can go home.
Yeah, we talked about this new rebuilt roster, ditching some of the old veterans that have been successful for Sweden in the past. Of course, last year didn't go so well either, but Sweden, this is the time for all these young players to really step up and prove themselves. We've seen great stuff from Elevote, especially in the Colombia game, but I can't help but feel that it's been Dragon Eddy getting the better of the Sigma duel here in this match. I mean, Dragon Eddy, not a player who's had so much exposure. I mean, mostly playing in contender so far, but consistently, in my eyes, always having a great performance on the off tank. He's not. It's not the role where you're going to get tons of frags and you're going to, run over the kill feed. But once in a while, it's his positioning, staying alive late into the team fight, maintaining his presence, and just being a constant thorn in the side of Sweden that gives Italy the advantage in a long fight.
So it is only a 1-0 lead for Italy, but let's say, Jake, you've turned now into a coach for Team Sweden. What kind of speech do you give these players to keep them hyped up, or what do you have to work on for the next map?
I mean, if anything, you just need to refocus because you were in a dominant position in Kings Row. Yeah, sure, maybe you slipped up in the end. Things can get crazy in overtime. Even 2 minutes, it's not an insane time bank. It's not beyond comprehension to fail an offense with 2 minutes left to get one tick. That's not too crazy. So if I'm Sweden, the biggest thing is don't get in my own head. Keep it rolling. They've had a lot of success with these Reaper Doom mirror matches. It's really been when Italy is able to shake it up on them, or when, in my opinion, on Nepal, when Sweden got overconfident and dropped the supercharger in losing fights, dropped the coalescence in losing fights. We saw some of that from Italy too, though. Both teams, clearly the nerves having some effect. We saw some really strange ultimate commitments from both teams. You wouldn't expect to see something like that in the Overwatch League. So for both of these teams, really they could stand to clean it up, make sure they're not committing ults like Sound Barrier, except in really dominant winning fights, or at least in a fight with better than 6-on-4 odds.
I think, yeah, that was the only minor criticism we had of Italy is that Adnar barrier we saw the one time, but it happens. Now
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
just resetting ult economy. That's what people
Yeah, I
tell
mean,
me.
well, Sweden even made the same or similar types of mistakes two times as I saw in Nepal. One time committing a supercharger into an arguably lost fight, and another time committing coalescence into a lost fight. Uh, Sometimes it makes sense if you have point control, if you have dominance, but on the hybrid map type, you really don't want to be blowing ults just for time. You really want to be winning fights with your ults, asserting dominance, forcing the enemy team to go reset back to spawn, especially with an ultimate like Sound Barrier. One of the slowest charging ults in the game, but that's because it's one of the highest impact when it does come down. So most of the time, it's just being traded away for the Gravitic Flux, which is, a standard. That's what's expected of the Lucio to keep his team alive through the Gravitic Flux. But when you waste that ult, you really just open up the enemy team's possibilities. They can do whatever they want with the rest of their ults because the ult that they were saving their Gravitic Flux to counter is now gone. So the Gravitic Flux is essentially a free tool, and Dragon Eddy has certainly made the most of it when he has that.
And I wonder, as the series progresses, are we going to see a Pharah duel? Urki has also an amazing pocket Pharah, and on the other side, Heartbeat can play that hero as well. And if we're going to see a big difference between that.
Well, if we're going to see it, I mean, these are the maps to bring it out on. Kings Row and Nepal, not really the best Pharah maps, especially in the current meta. It's a little too easy to just camp point against Pharah, playing that Reaper Doom. You don't really need to leave the points on most of the maps, and it's a little challenging for Pharah to get the damage in from the flank. But Dorado's a totally different beast. Very,
Yeah.
very open skybox. Um, at the same time, though, do you really want to invite Snillo to bring out a hit scan? That, to me, is a little bit worrisome. I honestly don't know if Sweden would even agree to the fair duel or even take a fair duel when the most reliable counter is simply just a McCree of your own behind the double shield. It can be really brutal for Farah without a Bastion supporting her to try and take down that McCree. But maybe that's what Italy will bring out. I mean, the Farah Bastion has been something that we've seen a lot in the Overwatch League to great success.
Yeah, we haven't seen Sweden try any substitutions yet. I mean, maybe this longer pause is thinking over that, but we'll see. Escort Dorado, anytime now.
Well, yeah, then now that we've seen Snillo in the first 2 maps of the last series, it really looks like they were putting Rat in the last series just to give him a little bit more playtime, a little more experience. They think against a stronger team like Italy that Snillo is their best bet as a player, which, it's hard for me to disagree with. Snillo, just such a mechanically gifted player, really, really consistent on those hit scan heroes, and it makes a difference when the particle effects are flying every which way. You don't know what's going on. You want that player who's still hitting those consistent shotguns, dead center on target, maximizing damage, and with the decision-making skills to know when to use the cooldowns, when to ult, when to wraith, when to escape, when to stay in and go all in. Those type of decisions are really what separate the pros from the casuals, at least in this meta.
Just speaks to a lot of the composure and the energy levels also of Italy, who have been at the start of the bracket against India, and then moving on to the bracket all the way at the finals, back-to-back matches. Some breaks here and there, but it's a long tournament. Keeping up your energy levels, and staying focused. Italy coming off these wins don't want to get overhyped, overconfident, because that's when you can make some silly mistakes.
It's just as easy to make one mistake as the other, getting ahead of yourself, getting defeated, or getting ahead of yourself thinking that you already won the match, thinking that it's just smooth sailing from here. We know a team like Team Sweden is not gonna make mistakes in that regard.
And we do have a technical break, so we will see you guys in a few minutes.
Ready for battle.
We're here on Dorado. Welcome back, everybody. Sweden, defense. And look, Erky on the Pharah. We'll see if Heartbeat wants to match that, but I'm also surprised about the Bastion.
As I suspected they might, Bastion, can work very well on Dorado. It's a map with a lot of wide open sidelines and a lot of really dominant high ground positions from which Bastion can just dominate the field. So the real question for me, though, is the Pharah Mercy. I mean, the Bastion is relatively simple, relatively straightforward. Rat coming out to play it, though, interesting. Maybe they feel a little more confident in his decision-making on the hero. Snillo, a flanker specialist, maybe not so comfortable on the Bastion. The question is, though, can Erky stay alive and still do a ton of damage, get a ton of value against Italy? That's the task that's set before him right now.
So quick Sonic to see what's going on. Sweden maybe adjusting their setup, going back to the market side, and Italy still sticking through the Hanzo.
Yeah, Italy getting a lot of card parkers. They also have a Mercy and a Zen. Very old school here, but it might pay off. No punish really available for Team Sweden. Already forced to use the Immortality Field just to keep Bastion alive.
I feel like there's so much pressure on the shields of Sweden when you would think Sweden has a little bit more damage of a Bastion versus the Hanzo.
Well, with the Zen Mercy, it can really be the difference maker, especially with Bastion. If he's even for a moment not set up, he's doing essentially nothing. So you really need to stay set up, but instantly shut down by Erky. He's not watching the duel.
Not watching the duel. Erky finds him. Now Italy down by their DPS players. Will maybe have to reset, hold on to the choke, but Sweden, they can breathe a little bit.
Erky winning that duel is so huge. Italy looks poised there to potentially, oh no, he overextends. Oh, but at least Rat gets the cleanup. They may be able to get this res as well.
Resurrectable, there we go. But now Italy on the attack. It's Heartbeat with a barrage. Has to keep an eye on this duel also with Erky. Dragon String towards the left side. This is completely burning through Rat. The Bastion, no immortality to save him, and Heartbeat nail in the coffin with a barrage. And Italy pushing the cart.
Erky overextending there is so costly, dying to the Zen, desperate for a pick, but it ends up costing them first point, and now Italy even switching off this composition, going to a better counter to what Sweden is fielding, and now Sweden themselves on a very awkward composition. They've got the Reaper, they also have the Pharah Mercy. This is not something we normally see. Maybe they're feeling a little discombobulated. Italy going all in on the low ground fight. Sweden going back to the Doom again, and it looks like Heartbeat wants to mirror that as well. We're going to go full back to the classic meta, both teams knowing that this is the best brawling composition available in the game right now, and it's very easy to force that sort of brawl on the street space of Dorado.
Sweden on the high ground, Italy around the corner. Gravitic Flux available for Dragonetti. He's dangerously low and under the focus of Sweden, who lose their Moira players, so resources struggling for this defense. They'll have to play slow, maybe even taxi her back if Kusop wants to go for that, but Italy are around the corner.
Without also, though, it could be tough to break this long siege, but Sweden giving up a lot of ground here, really respecting Italy as soon as their Moira falls, so really relying on those heals. That's definitely intelligent play from them. But Dragon Eddie does have this Gravitic Flux, and there's no beat available to counter it.
Oh, I think someone got punched out of the Gravitic Flux, so he's only able to get that Lucio. Still one crucial pick that they needed. Rat, Wraith, used, immediately deleted from Dragon Eddie. Italy cleaning up this fight on the back of that crucial ultimate they needed. Looking down at the end of point B.
Just beautiful stuff from Dragon Eddie. Textbook does get somebody punched out of his Gravitic Flux, but he doesn't let it distract him. He takes down the Lucio and then proceeds to just flank for the rest of the fight, always attacking that back line of Team Sweden, and you can see their health bars just dropping throughout the fight. That's the power of Dragon Eddie hitting those splash orbs. Now, again, both teams mirror ultimates here. Things could go either way, but the defenders are going to have a big advantage in this situation.
Someone is there to touch Sweden. Bongo and Coalescence. Meteor strike from above. Sweden investing everything they need to hold this here. Italy haven't dropped anyone yet. Even Heartbeat's going to get back into safety. Things are equalized, but not for much longer. Sweden loses shield. They're trying to run away. And Lil Young with the Death Blossom. Didn't get anybody, but he mainly survives with his own life. And Italy, looks like they stabilize. Throw that card to point B.
It's a great setup from Italy, being on all the high grounds, all the flanks at once. Once Sweden comes to touch card, they pay with Lolsh's life, instantly focusing down that Orisa. And in the long fight with no Orisa, you really have no way to keep up with the amount of value that she just generates through combos, through shields, with the Fortify, and her own primary weapon. So Orisa, one of those heroes that you just have to keep alive long-term into the late fight to get maximum potential out of her. Sweden moving fast, dropping to card, but it's scouted. Italy's totally ready for this.
Nice ult. Gravitic Flux doesn't get anyone. Elevode holds on to his. Waiting. Adnar holds on to the barrier for that Gravitic Flux. Gustav can now engage with that barrier. Sweden pushing Italy back. They've already lost their front line, and this is bad. Italy, though, tons of time. They'll have to reset, but more chances to go.
This is where Sweden needs to hold strong. Defending at these first chokes of third point can be one of the best positions on Dorado, but if you lose one fight, you won't be able to hold these chokes any longer. So it's up to Sweden. They need to win from here on out, but Italy, they've got the sound barrier. They've got the coalescence. Those are the perfect ults to break such a chokehold.
See Red keeping an eye on maybe a potential flank. Gravitic Flux and Halt set up perfectly. Italy have their barrier available. Coalescence, all the resources they need to win this fight quick. Already up by 2. Sweden trying to run with their lives, and Italy quickly winning this one. 3 minutes left, and the end of the map in their sights.
Also as well, holding on to the supercharger, moving up to build a forward position for him to drop that Bongo down and boost up his teammates' damage. No coalescence, so it'll be up to the flankers to take down the Bongo, and without that coming in, if they can just defend this Bongo, Italy should be punching their ticket to an insane offense here on Dorado.
I think Rat might be setting up a flank just in case that supercharger comes out. You see him on the right side. And supercharger already eliminated. Death Blossom takes care of the front line of Sweden. Italy pushing this cart in a second, as it was Erky dropping down to contestant one last time. Italy, the synergy so strong, the time bank so large, but Sweden still trying to contest, but it won't be for much longer.
The death volley from Italy just too effective, protecting their supercharger, having great priority focus here in this long team fight. Now it's just really just stall coming in for Sweden. Need to work this time bank down, give them a chance in overtime, but it doesn't look like there's any way for them to turn this fight, and that's will be Italy with 2 minutes on the clock. I mean, Dorado is a map where you rarely see anything but an overtime finish, so 2 minutes on the clock. This is beyond Italy's wildest expectations. Sweden crumbling here? Certainly possible.
There's just such patience and calculation from Italy that they're not too aggressive, but when they have that first pick, they advance the shield and they just stay. They don't disengage when Sweden push into them, and that's that type of confidence you need to play against such a good team like this.
Definitely. Rough to see from Sweden. They started to look good with that Bastion, started to get those first pickoffs, you know, starting to turn the first team fight in their favor, but then Erky overextending, dying to Zen, trying to get that desperate frag, and ends up costing Sweden first point, costing a snowball. And Italy, they just need to not make those same mistakes. Just get some consistent fights, couple good trades on your ults. You don't need to do anything special if you're the defenders here.
2 minutes and 6, and a lead series for Italy. And this is where Sweden, I mean, I think they've regained their composure. They've tried different strategies, but now on their attack, what could they be expecting? Italy have only run really the Doomfist Reaper and a May Reaper. Haven't seen Bastion from them yet. You won't see it here either.
I like that if they're not confident with it, they're just not going to run it at all. I'd rather see that than just bringing it out once, something that maybe you have minimal practice with. Oh, and this is something I very much like from Italy. If they can start this map off or start this defense off with a decisive route of the attackers, aided by a May wall, keeping them out from retreating into the spawn, this could be really desperate. Italy, if they can start building up an old bank, melting down the clock, that's how you really start feeling the pressure on attack.
And it's up to Adnar to stay alive. He's going to be the big key, their escape key to get out as soon as Sweden even get one pick. Italy have to get out. It's just about ult charge, wasting time. I don't think Sweden, no, they might have thrown a Sonic. I don't know if they're there, but Italy waiting for them.
Oh no, Sweden, they're going to be delayed for a long time, although Urki on the Doomfist could potentially get some easy picks here. Looking to punch into the back. Rat ready to support that.
Sweden on the left side and the right. Italy trying to set up camp. Don't want to let anyone in. You are uninvited to this party, but Italy still staying in there. Sweden losing that Reaper, still trying to push into these doorways. Again, this is just time wasted.
With no Lucio, though, things will start to slowly fall apart. The wheels are going to come off, and that's the second healer. Urki finding the two most important picks in this situation. The stagger is going to end soon for Italy. They have no heals, no support, just Little Young battling it out with his lifesteal, but it's not enough. Sweden break the spawn hold, start that card moving, but a minute off the clock. Italy, they're playing the time bank. That's what that strategy enables. Play that time. You're still going to get a couple good fights on first point, and from there, you know, everything's going to reset. It's going to be irrelevant that you even went for this initial spawn play. So unless Sweden can snowball from here, they need to really take advantage of the fact that they can take position here on first point.
At least they force a second fight with their full 6, but not being able to hold that choke at Marketplace. See how this goes. Italy, the high ground, dropping down. Coalescence immediately initiated. Urki slams in, rocked by Dragon Eddy. Up by 2. Italy don't have to use any more ults here, just staying on the card, but Sweden completely reset. 2 minutes and 30, and not much progress.
And this is one of the worst choke points in the game to try and recontest into. Even though Sweden, they do have that coalescence, this choke is so tight and there's so many corners for the defenders to hide on. It's really rough to initiate here as opposed to some more open maps where the coalescence can really be all that you need. And Lil Young with the Death Blossom can always TP in and attack your flank. So if you're Sweden, you've got to be very cautious here. Maybe start off with a Gravitic Flux, but it's hard to find a good one from the offensive position.
Sweden have all the ultimates first, that's what matters. If they can take this fight early and quick, halt, Meteor Strike didn't get anything, Death Blossom up into the air, but look at this clean fight win from Sweden. Meteor Strike, Coalescence, Gravitic Flux, a little bit expensive, but that should be point A for them.
Great play by Elevote there. They choose, instead of starting with the Gravitic Flux, they were not going to be able to find like a great one there. They will get first point off the back of that fight, but instead of starting with the Gravitic Flux, they actually lead in with the Doomfist, lead in with the Meteor Strike, force some key cooldowns out of Italy, force them to group up on the Doomfist, and that's when Elevote comes in with the Gravitic Flux to get the cleanup they needed. So great tactical play, using their ults to bait the enemy in.
Oh, what a quick Gravitic Flux engage from Italy. I mean, Savants are so close from Sweden. This holding the show could be big for the defense. Look at the re-engage. Now the barrier from Gustav. Italy just chilling for the moment. Supercharger, they want to wait this out. Italy, this is a tough fight for them to take. They even use their own supercharger, but Sweden not coming out ahead quite yet. Death Blossom used, immediately canceled. Sweden missing a lot, but not looking. They're going for a full reset.
Sweden, they want to stabilize in this corner. They're even going to commit to Cold to do it. If this goes to their own spawn, it actually makes sense to go for a commitment like this. So far, their spawners snowballing back in, but everyone from Italy maybe escaping clean. Dragon Eddy dropping so low, needs to be defended by his Doomfist. Have they overextended?
Takes a solo from Sweden. The Meteor Strike's out the miracle play Sweden are looking for, and again, leaving that payload in such a critical position. Not fully resetting, but Italy could get more stagger kills just like that.
So rough there for Sweden. Dragon Eddy dropping down to below 30 HP, but they just can't finish the frag, and Italy kites into their spawners, regroups on the Coalescence, and again, winning another decisive team fight. Once again, it's really just Elevo with this Gravitic Flux, but the beat is there for Adnar, and there's no counter on the side of Sweden for Dragon Eddy's Gravitic Flux.
Elevo has one too. Sweden need to get back on this cart. High ground controlled by Heartbeat. Tossed up every... Elevo goes for the Gravitic Flux. Equally, Dragon Eddy does. Adnar was the only one with barrier. And this is what benefited Italy so much in this fight, to be that much healthier. And Sweden have been stuck at this point for a little bit now.
It's a 2-for-1 in terms of ultimate usage, but Italy does get the cleanup. They're able to farm more ults across the board on all their heroes, although Lil Young probably wasting some of that ultimate charge, already has Death Blossom ready. And at this point, Sweden, they really just need to wait for these support ults to really take a decisive engage. If they fight before those are ready, the Death Blossom could just destroy them. So I would expect to see a long extended trading phase, but that's just going to cost them more and more time back.
Coming up to barrier and not having to worry about the Gravitic Flux, but starting with the Coalescence, Death Blossom immediately shuts down Eps. So Sweden needs to win this fight quick because they don't have a lot of healing left. But it's down, trying to play together, trying to get back to the cart. Elbow is getting melted there from the Coalescence. Barrier invested there from Sweden. They want to win this here. They got to get this Reaper off the cart. Great use. Lil Young deleted. And Italy disengaging so they can hold the end of point B.
So scrappy for both sides, but Sweden managing to power through. It's a slugfest. Also does have that first supercharger that can be very impactful here, as there's no clear coalescence. Urki might have to Meteor Strike just to take down the supercharger.
Sweden, Meteor Strike, looking for the hold setup, slams down onto Adnar, and the follow-up from Brad with that Death Blossom takes down most of Italy. Meaning also that Orisa, only one shield left in his Dragon Eddy, unless he could get a Gravitic Flux in time, but the damage too strong for Sweden. In the last minute, they'll get to point B.
Asso doesn't find the window to put down his supercharger, but he also doesn't waste it, which is a mistake we've seen so many Orisas make so far in the tournament, dropping that supercharger in an unwinnable fight. Instead, Asso holds onto it, knows that by the time he realizes he should have potentially used it, it's just too late. And that's a great decision here, because it's going to mean that they won't be hard snowballing in the last. They have a lot of ults to work with, and all they need to do is hold last. Everything else is superfluous.
Coalescence in the tank for the attack. Oh, holding down Asso. Forced to use Fortified Supercharger. Coalescence for free keeps the front line up. And Italy peeling for their front line so well. When they're in danger, you have someone like Lil Young or Hearthbeat immediately going in. And Sweden reset.
They get the pull down, but that just turns into initiation for Italy, and now Italy finds himself in position to defend these chokes. That can be rough for Sweden. You know, they're going to have to move in, and with Italy all split up like this, Elevold's going to have a much tougher time finding a good flux compared to Dragon Eddy, who, you know, Sweden's going to essentially be forced to group through a choke just to make value out of Ep's Coalescence.
Lil Young is looking for those supports. They went the other way. Gravitic Flux thrown from Dragon Eddy. Lil Young thrown up into the air himself. Oh, Elevo with two, Urki with the third. Sweden, big momentum push here. They've lost a few fights, but now they can make up in this distance, last minute. And they still have one fight to go.
So far, Sweden somehow making it work, doing exactly what they need to do, but Italy, they're still going to have one more chance at this, one more chance to turn things around and end the map here. Sweden, they don't want to let that happen. They need to keep this card moving. Hearthbeat though is going to die instantly.
No, he couldn't get into the doorway. Punished. Trades both sides. Sweden can't lose anymore here. But 44 seconds, Italy grouped up, trying to stay close to their spawn doors. Hearthbeat is coming back. There's just no damage for the side of Italy as Sweden just meters away from taking this one home. Barrier used, Coalescence, so much resources being dumped into Italy along with the spawn advantage. Sweden thinks it's winnable. Urki with two, the barrier supercharger. Sweden have everything, but can they get it done? 20 seconds left.
Gotta shout out Gustav there, hitting the fast rollout after dying, coming back, dropping the beat at the perfect moment for his team to overwhelm. It looked like Italy was almost turning that there. Instead, they'll just have to be satisfied with the 2-minute advantage in the time bank. It's something, but if you're Sweden, you're still in this. You're not out yet.
A slight difference in time banks, and minute 50, how significant is that to you?
On payload, I would argue that time bank is the most significant. Of all the maps, it makes the biggest difference having a large time bank, because every inch of that payload counts. It's not just about hitting an objective, hitting a solid, consistent point, or earning a tick of progress on a capture point. You need to just, every inch of the payload moving makes a huge difference. If you just make it all the way to the end of first point, even if you don't cap first, you can easily hold on defense there. So it's so important. Italy has a lot of swings at this. You know, if Sweden makes one little mistake, really, that will just be the end of the map for them. They need to just have a great offense, win a couple decisive fights in a row. Italy should inevitably overwhelm them with ultimate and spawn advantage at a certain point.
And a fire alarm is going off.
A fire alarm is going off for us.
This match is so fire.
Hot here.
The match. Oh yeah, all the casters are screaming right now. We apologize for this break. We will return shortly.
The 2019 Overwatch World Cup is brought to you by T-Mobile. Their newest signal goes farther than ever, and it's built 5G ready. Omen, the official PC and display of the Overwatch World Cup. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch World Cup.
Il arrive pour le deuxième point, mais ils peuvent encore passer. C'est fait! Le double kill à domicile!
Last 2 years, represent France is a huge honor for us.
Score 3-3. Switching sides. Initiating match. Ready for battle. Attackers incoming in 30 seconds. One. Attackers incoming.
So after a casual caster C9, we died in a fire or something. We put out the
Almost.
fire super quickly.
Desperately escaped with our lives from the fire safety drill that we didn't know about.
Players didn't leave their seats because that's how much Overwatch matters. And leaks, but I guess Sweden won and we missed it.
Yeah, which is impressive for me because Sweden, of course, having a major disadvantage in the time bank, barely squeaking into overtime, and now they've tied up the series. Now feels like anybody's game. The momentum that Italy had carried previously kind of feels lost, the wind out of their sails. I suspect that Italy probably, I saw that before I left, I saw that they were going for that forward spawn hold with the Mei, and it didn't really work out at all the first time, so I expected it just didn't work at all again the second time, and Sweden snowballed enough of an offense on attack that they were able to win on defense. But now Italy, for the first time, I think from we've seen from them, bringing out this Bastion setup, trying to go with the Fair Mercy, being very aggressive. It's very popular on Hanamura. Of course, a great map for Bastion. There's such an open field in front of him to just rain down damage from above.
And I want to say this is the first time we've seen Italy run this Bastion. They've been really relying on the Mei Reaper and some fire from Heartbeat, but Sweden on the attack, they're already ready with the Mei, almost expecting this Bastion. Using that wall to maybe lift up the Bastion or even block some of this damage. Sweden going for a right side rotation instead of going under the Bastion.
It's a clean cross from Sweden, feeding minimal ult charge, even stunning Heartbeat. He's really not getting any barrage charge at all. That's very important because when Sweden does make their move to point, the time for Italy will be limited. They'll be able to cap very, very quickly by putting 3 on point, and Italy, it'll be a struggle to deal with that if the Bastion can't find an angle.
Not halted down, Sweden going right onto the point, using the wall behind the Bastion, I believe, from what I saw. But Heartbeat finding Rat, Sweden just lack a lot of damage right now if they can even walk away with the first tick. But Sweden are just going to go directly towards that Bastion and shut it down, but I'm a little worried.
They wrap all the way around the back though, and Urki does find Dragon Eddie, and with such a long respawn on Sigma, that could be rough. The Fair Mercy trying to fight back, but can't do much against the Coalescence coming out from Ebbs. Freyu, everyone discombobulated on the side of Italy. They need to regroup on this Bastion, rebuild that nest that they so rely on, but Mei taking the high ground, and Sweden starting to split up, starting to take those flanks.
Yeah, Sweden just forced to do that right side rotation just to have a clear safe lane for Rat and any respawns from Sweden to come back. Now they control the middle of the map, and you're worried about how Heartbeat is going to react with this barrage. Sweden taking cover maybe possibly under this bridge, but Heartbeat not finding anything yet. But if they come out of this doorway, this could be bad.
Could be, but they do have that Sigma ready to potentially stuff a Fair Barrage, so it's easier said than done for Heartbeat. Now he's going in, finds the barrage, but he's completely stuffed by the Sigma.
Immortality field! Heartbeat survives! Are you kidding me? Freyu sacrifices his life for it. Sweden back and forth have lost their DPS players. They conserve their ults. They only use really a Coalescence, maybe a Death Blossom, but now you have half the time bank drained, and Italy are chilling.
It's a good play from Elbow to get the eat off, but I can't help but feel that if he had just used his shield instead, he would have actually been able to kill Heartbeat with his own barrage, potentially turning that fight. But in the moment, just all he can do to really stay alive there, and it's really the aggression from the rest of Italy that makes it work. Heartbeat more or less stuffed, and everyone else moving in with the Bastion tank is what makes the difference. Now Freyu, with that amplification matrix, the cross could be more difficult for Sweden this time.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going towards the left side, go under the Bastion, make it hard for him to find a good LOS, or are they going to keep going towards the right? High ground, choose when they want to engage. Mei wall just to block it with the amplification matrix. It's so much damage, but Sweden want to fight this. They use the barrier and the blizzard on top of the Bastion. Lil Young is frozen. Nothing left for Italy to defend with as Sweden step on the point to even stop the barrage. Heartbeat dying in a heartbeat as Italy get ready for point B.
Heartbeat probably looking to swap off, committing a barrage in a desperate situation like that usually signals that you want to play a different hero, so they're going to bring out the Mei Reaper of their own here on defense. But the question is, with 0 support ult charge on both supports, having to make that double swap, this is the risk that you take when you run Bastion on burst defense. The enemy will have a major window of opportunity when they do finally break your defense. There's no support ult to speak of. It's really all on the tank ults to somehow do something. I mean, the Mei wall just slows them down, but not going to split anybody up, and Sweden have total control of the map now, going wherever they want. Italy offering no resistance so far.
Sweden forced the drop, looking for the halt for the Gravitic Flux, sent it from Elbow. It gets a ton. Italy are so wounded. Supercharger completely exposed from Italy as Dragon Eddie tries to even up the odds, but Sweden, they snowball this onto the point of Italy. And look at this time bank. It's so big. They struggled a little bit at point A, but they make up for it with their synergy and their thoughtfulness of how they attack this one. Italy are nowhere to be found. 3 minutes and 19 on the clock.
Sweden, great offense, great snowball. Even after those initial struggles, it's so difficult for the defense to change half their comp and still manage to make a hold, unless you forced essentially everything out of the offense. But really on the offense, it was just the Blizzard from Rat. That was all they really needed to close off that Bastion. They got the Sigma and the Bastion with the Blizzard, which is, you know, far beyond expectations, frankly. So not able to escape off the high ground. Great rotation. Sweden, decisive capping point B. It's going to be tough to replicate a time bank like that. Sweden, have they retaken the advantage in this series? Rat coming back into the lineup. They've really had a lot of success since then. I mean, he won the last map. Snillo maybe a weak spot for it, but maybe Rat's comms or Rat's coordination ultimately making the difference here.
3 minutes is a pretty good time bank on Italy on their attack. I'm thinking a Doomfist Reaper, even something with a Mei in Sweden. I wonder if they go for another Bastion play. Yeah, Rat. I mean, he's been playing a lot more Bastion than Italy has, so this is to be expected from Sweden. Definitely,
they like this Bastion Pharah defense. I mean, this is just a classic map for it. Even regardless of your preference as a team, as an individual, Bastion is just so devastating here. I mean, even when Sweden did manage to win that fight, they had to take such long rotations, ended up costing them minutes of time bank just to get that push. So, you know, if things had gone bad in that push, then they very easily could have been running out of time on the offense. So the Bastion definitely puts a lot of pressure on you. You make one little slip up, use one ult, and actually just lose the fight afterwards, and Bastion will just have his way with your tanks. So Hearthbeat going onto the Sombra here, maybe looking to apply some flanking pressure, but this could also just be a scouting Sombra, just looking to locate any enemies, locate the exact composition from Team Sweden.
Yeah, while they go for a scout, I think the neutral war really favors the Bastion. It took Sweden's attack till they had ults for them to take point A, half that time bank gone. So if Italy can just have a faster point A push, this could be where they can have a big advantage, even snowball it into point B. But Urki just also doing some scouting of his own, taking the attention away, but not being too crazy.
The Conk actually is going to help Italy's rotation. They're going directly under the Bastion. Much faster rotation than Sweden opted for, but will it be successful? They're on point. They're starting to get in position, but uh-oh, Rad is set up now. They need to take him down or CC him.
As a quick reaction from Sweden to deny that first take, unfortunately now taken half for Italy. They've lost Hearthbeat though, and now it's up to Lil Young. Can he be supported from the rest of the team? But it's just falling apart at all angles. Italy's still happy though that they walked away with one, but Sweden accumulated some ultimates out from that.
They did get some progress on the point, but ultimately that second tick will reset. They really only got one tick for that, and they paid dearly in terms of the ultimates that now Sweden has online. Urki with that barrage will be ready in just one more rocket, and the Eps as well with the amplification matrix, so a ton of damage going to be ready to be pumped out, but Italy pulled such a great rotation before. I wonder if that'll work a second time.
Urki, he's not going to let him rotate. Oh, the shield right in his face. Urki traded. Still walks away with one. Italy down now both their shield tanks, and there's no way for them to get out of this safely. Sweden, big play from Urki.
Even the res comes in, just resetting, and that's such a cheap ult. I mean, the barrage, it's great, you know, it's like high value, lots of damage, but winning a fight with just the barrage is super good for the defense. Hard to overstate that one. Now they have the Valkyrie online to not boost not just the Pharaoh's damage, but really everyone's damage simultaneously, which, again, it would be really rough. Freyu does have the Cole, but the Valk should just completely negate that.
This fight has to be for Sweden. Amp Matrix plus a Bastion is just death. Look, the Maywall just bought Sweden a few more seconds to shoot at Italy. Now they're stuck on that right side, and it's their supports that have to rotate in. At least there's a Lucio helping Freyu get across.
It's a huge conk by Urki that denies the cross, keeps them in the Bastion line of fire for longer than they can survive. And Italy, only 4 players alive here. Desperately trying to stay alive in the flank, but very nice move. Somehow get back to choke and regroup with their team. That's so important. That could have been really bad for them if they had been wiped.
Silver lining too, Italy don't have to worry about Amp Matrix. There is a tank configuration, but with 2 shields from Italy, it's not something Rat wants to go for unless he can get past those, unless it's a cleanup situation. Halted in, Urki's so close to barrage. Gravitic Flux though from Elivo catches a few from Italy. That's 2 down. Freyu's Coalescence, hopefully supporting the rest of the team. Looking for that 3rd tick, they got a 2nd one, but this time bank's getting smaller and smaller.
A 2nd tick is earned for Team Italy, but Sweden cleaning up this fight as well. Cruising toward a potential full hold here on point A. At this point, Italy, they're running low on really strategic effectiveness. It feels like every single time Sweden is just getting so much value on the cross. Italy, finally though, they have their first Blizzard. This is really the opening that you can actually attack the Bastion instead of just forcing point. Or now that they have gone 2 ticks, they could force point with the Blizzard. So can maybe force a double bind situation for Sweden.
But Urki has another barrage. They have to be careful. Oh, he finds a pick onto Lil Young.
Oh,
Dragon Eddy 2! That's 3! Urki saving this defense. This was a fight we expected Italy to take, and now they're forced in the last 38 seconds to see what they can do.
Italy taking the reset quickly, decisive. That's what they need to be in order to get one more chance here, but that's all they will have. Although, I will say this is probably the best fight they've had so far. Just as long as Italy keeps their composure, they have the ultimates to make this push work. This should be open and shut if they can just get that beat off, but Urki has been so devastating with these pickoffs. Can he find it again?
Maybe Italy, they have the ults, they have the tools, going straight towards the point. The concussion blast splits them up. Blizzard I don't think it really hit much. Now tank configuration coming online for Rat. Sweden want to blow away this point, but they're not getting as many picks as they would like. Rat only found one, and Sweden not going to get this fight. Italy get the final tick, and they'll go to point B.
Sweden, though, going to benefit from those instant spawns on the back of losing point A. We'll have everyone online. We'll see if they elect to go, and they will swap back to the May Reaper. But in this case, Italy had to pay so much to win that first point. They have much less of a snowball going forward. It's really just all Dragon Eddy with this Gravitic Flux. Nothing really else in the tank. Can they make it work here? Great Maywall from both teams blocking the bridge.
Already a time disadvantage. Italy have to make the most out of this. It's the Gravitic Flux, only finding one. It should get Gustav, and this could maybe be enough. Spawns are close. Italy have to win this one quick, and look how they're just running over Sweden, using those walls, pushing them into their spawn doors. Italy getting close to Coalescence, losing their DPS, not ideal. They gotta win this quick, or Sweden will come back and retake.
They got to the backup point, they got the position they wanted, but it was just too costly. Losing players before that, losing too many cooldowns in order to take that dominant position. And Sweden, they push quickly, they don't let Italy make the most of it, and now they're in a really dominant position to potentially end the map here and come up for the first time into a decisive score lead in the series.
First to 3, group stage spot on the line too. Still some time, still some maps to go. Italy getting healed up, having the Coalescence ready, but not really anything else. It's Sweden, whose fight is favorable. They're on the high ground waiting for their competition. Supercharger available. Do they really need to invest the Blizzard? Italy already backed off from this. They're going to wait it out.
Great kite out of Italy, baiting that out of Lucius, baiting the Supercharger, and it's really not getting any value. Although they're pushing it, the Supercharger's still online. They're trying to rush point, get some ticks. This is very, very aggressive.
Coalescence at the back from Italy trying to support them. There is a Blizzard from Urki, drop before he's dead, but Italy, this won't be the fight for them either. Got a few more ults coming online, but great plays from Sweden.
I think the timing was just not there from Italy. I mean, they waited, they did the perfect retreat to wait out Lucius' Supercharger, but while they push in, it's still online for the first 2 seconds or so of their attempt to cross the point. They take so much damage in that moment that they really just can't recover by the time they make it to point, so Sweden still in control of the map. Finally, though, Italy has created a minor ultimate advantage for themselves. The question is, can they capitalize? Can they turn this into a fight win, into a potential map win?
You hope that you invest this Blizzard onto the point. That's where you have the most value to completely zone them off while you get that objective time. Because now the fight will take place onto the point. Blizzard thrown on the bridge side. This separates Sweden away from the point they want you to defend. As Lil Young with the Death Blossom again, pushing away Sweden. They use the barrier to re-engage. Taking a half for Italy. Supercharger invested. It's not the cleanest. Heartbeat is down, but Italy, the rest are healthy. Coalescence supporting them. Sweden, respawns are closed. They're losing members, but they're still contesting.
Eps with his own cold, though. This could be the beginning of a turn. Rat enabled, very, very close to a Death Blossom. Things are so chaotic. Will they be ready for the Death Blossom as he starts to farm it up on point? But the kills are going Italy's way. But Sweden, they have locked in overtime. They have guaranteed themselves at worst a draw on this map. They should be able to decisively win the fight at this point, but Sweden still trying to claw it back, still trying to get anything they can. Elebow trying to get the Flux up. It is available.
Is available. Toss everyone up. Only gets the Lucio. Death Blossom coordinated there from Rat. Second and third. Sweden actually turning this around. It's so winnable. Their spawns are close. Italy, they have their Moira alive, but really no damage left. This should have been Italy's fight, and it will be Sweden standing tall and now leading the series 2-1.
Sweden rejecting an overtime round, which they almost certainly would have won as well, and just winning decisively there. A very, very difficult fight. That looked completely over. It looked like Italy had total dominance on point. It looked like they were going to at least get that OT chance at a draw, but Sweden shutting it down and going up 2-1. Something has changed in this series. The tempo totally different. With Rat in the game, Sweden's just a different team. They're just running over Italy. The advantage that Italy felt like they had before, we just see this series kind of snowball out of their hands from there.
Something has woken up in Sweden, and that's losing a control to a team you weren't expecting to do that to. It's been clean play so far from Sweden series-wise, and nonetheless, they were a team favored to take this group, but this is the the most I've seen Sweden sweat. Both these teams trying to prove themselves at this year's BlizzCon, not being able to qualify last year. You're going into control, and this was something that a map that Italy won.
If you're Italy, you're beginning to forget what it feels like to win a map in this series. But as we do go to that control type, that is the type that Italy were more successful on before. Although I can't help but say that Italy did win control and it was 2-0. But both fights, I believe, both points were 99 to 100. So you really can't get closer than that. And having to win multiple controls in succession here, if you are Italy, that'll be a tough test. Sweden just has to find one control of the next two to take this series and escape this elimination bracket stage.
And with that win on Hanamura, what that tells me is Sweden having maybe more time and more just looking better on that Bastion setup in general. Now you go on a map like Busan, where that might not be as much of the story. We're going back to maybe that Reaper Doom or a May type of mirror, and I think that'll be a closer series.
And I gotta admit, I did harp on Urki a little bit on Dorado for overextending on that first defense on Farah, getting picked off and potentially losing his team that first point. But he has been so consistent otherwise. I mean, even before that on Dorado, winning a Farah duel, bringing his team back into a losing fight, and then there on Hanamura, just clinical stuff on defense, the perfect position on the concussion mine, always denying the Colossus and the choke, enabling his Bastion to have that extra 2-3 seconds that he needs to get kills. And that's the same as without the Farah getting that conk, you don't get those kills ever in any world. So there's no one else who can do it besides the Farah. So it's a great, perfectly timed concussion mines from him to really enable that, get them melting down Italy's time bank so that they could win so decisively on last.
Now I wonder what round and what particular point of Busan we're going to go to, because like Mecha Base, I would think Doom Reaper, maybe a little bit of May, but all the other points of Busan could be a Pharah map, and we just saw Urki just look that much cleaner on it.
Definitely a lot of variability on the maps of Busan. I think that's what makes it such a great Koth. It has the most consistency across all three maps. I think they're all strong Koth maps, very interesting Koth maps. Nothing too obvious or too straightforward about them, but still very different. They managed to keep the thematic feel of the map, really consistent. But at the same time, you're really going to see totally different strategies come out depending on which point we start on, as you said.
And it's match point. Sweden take this map. They will make it to group stage tomorrow. Or if Italy take this, go into a game 6, I guess. But I think Italy, win or lose, whatever comes out of the result of this is a team that showed up to impress everyone that is watching. Italy and all the teams and all the countries here bought their way to impress you and to stand out to the competition. There's a lot of countries that don't get as much attention. And Sweden, of course, a big favorite, but teams like Italy with not as many contenders players, they want to impress. And I think, personally, I'm blown away by Italy.
Definitely, I got to hand it to Hearthbeat on the Doomfist, on the Farah. So many openings from him and managing to stay alive, especially on the Doom. It's something that very easy to overextend, very easy to get carried away, but he's very consistent about returning back to his core group, fighting from that core, comboing off of his Orisa. So he's a very, very consistent Doom player from what I can tell. And Dragonetti as well coming up huge. I mean, I remembered him for his insane performance on D.Va last year, despite Italy not qualifying. I remembered Dragonetti's great performance on D.Va. So, it's great to see him again looking so good on the Sigma. As you said, regardless of the outcome of this series, definitely two players to keep an eye on for all you Overwatch League and contender scouts out there.
And this is just a role model. Dragonetti is a role model of Sigma players. How to just deny the value from Fars. Barrages come out here and there. You can't have a millisecond reaction time, but Dragonetti's so clean with those the halt rocks combos to take down other Fars, and also having the shields ready when they know they have a barrage. I feel like Dragonetti has been making it hard for the other team to play Pharah.
Yeah, I think his use of accretion is really strong, especially when it comes to the Doomfist matchup. Urki consistently being punished in the Doomfist matchup, and I think that's less on Urki, less of him making mistakes, and more on just the perfect timing from Dragonetti, getting that stun the moment the iframes from Doomfist Meteor Strike end. That timing is not, it's very, very subtle timing. It's very not simple to execute time after time, but that's what we see out of Dragonetti, always there with the rock, always there to punish an overextending Doomfist. So despite Urki playing quite well throughout this series, he has been caught out quite a few times by Hearthbeat and Dragonetti on the other side. Just goes to show how volatile Doomfist is in the current meta. Sometimes you get stunned and deleted. Other times you just go wipe through the enemy backline, and there's really not as much in between as you might expect. So very, very exciting meta to watch, especially for Doomfist players.
Remember, this is the final of Bracket C. Winner of this goes to group stage to face off against teams like South Korea, United States, France. That's a tough ask. Those are the final bosses of BlizzCon by itself.
Definitely. I mean, three teams that with really storied histories, really consistent, great performances across a lot of BlizzCon. So whichever team wins this match, they've got tougher tests ahead, but that's just the nature of BlizzCon. The longer you stay alive, the tougher the opponents become, and that's just how it goes. If you want to be the best, you'll have to stand up to the best.
And group stage, at least, it's not single limb. Everyone kind of plays each other, and then the best records move on to the final bracket. So it's not as much of a heart attack to go through prelims, and then if you lose, you start losing momentum, you're having a bad day, you didn't sleep, jet lag, whatever it is, you drop your series, you're out of BlizzCon. We've seen even teams like Sweden kind of sweat here.
And from the perspective of these players trying to get their name out there, trying to prove themselves, potentially becoming professional gamers someday, or at least aspiring to those esports careers, for them, it's such a huge difference. Whether you're eliminated here or you make it to the group stage, guarantee yourselves a few more games to play against all sorts of different top teams. Lots of opportunities to show your strengths, show your skill. But if you get eliminated here, you're in a much worse position. I mean, regardless of who goes home, we have seen great stuff from both of these teams, but certainly they both want those. They're both hungry for those further opportunities available as we go into the group stage play and the final bracket play tomorrow if they can survive that.
I'm just impressed that Italy just never plays scared. They're going up against one of the toughest teams in the bracket that I've said time and time again. For people like Hearthbeat to come out of nowhere and just blow everyone away, and to go neck and neck against someone like Urki on the Doomfist, I don't know, I'm impressed.
Certainly. It's great stuff from both teams, although Sweden, again, bringing out the Symmetra. We'll see if making it to the point first makes a difference. On this map, it tends to be pretty significant. Whoever gets point control first has ability to spam the other as they try and cross point. But by the same token, Lil Young will also be to the fight first because Snillo has to set up the TP.
Looks like he didn't get Sweden too much distance. Hearthbeat going to be engaging first, but it's Urki that slams right back. The clapback from Sweden. This first 6 versus 5 to claim this first point. This map, you could stall it forever, so whoever takes this first fight will get such a big advantage.
Very true, and what a clean fight, but great discipline by Italy. They back out of the fight instead of just feeding. I mean, with a clean pick like that, there's really no chance to reply, so it's better to just give Sweden the point, take the reset, don't feed them ults, but really, what an insane rock from Elevo there, stunning Hearthbeat out of this punch.
But Sweden took a lot of damage. Notice how Epps is so close to Coalescence. Freyu matching him on the other side. Who gets Cole first? It could be mirrored. Meanwhile, Sweden losing a shield. Urki low. Sweden have to start retreating. And Italy will lead the way with the Coalescence, having to take this point back. Don't want to give too much objective time as Urki still trying to sneak into the back. Italy, just don't budge.
Sweden, though, they're staying alive, and if no one can clean up this fight, that does play to Sweden's advantage. They are building up that time bank. Hearthbeat tries to punish Urki, but he gets out for free, and now Hearthbeat basically blew all his cooldowns for nothing there, whereas Urki is racing towards that Meteor Strike.
But Elevote has Gravitic Flux first. He might not think that Adnar has barrier in time. Immediately uses it, slams down Italy. And doesn't look like he got too much out of it. Adnar's still going to use the barrier. Now they can engage back into them with their own Gravitic Flux. Sweden with their own barrier, Supercharger. Supercharger not well defended. Sweden won't be able to benefit from that extra damage. Urki benefiting from uplifting everyone into the air. And Italy with another round of ultimates. Death Blossom should clean things up. But Italy, it took them so long to win this fight. It's 60% plus for Sweden.
It cost them 6 ults. They get the flip. But if you're Sweden, you're sitting pretty now. I mean, Italy has nothing in the Coalescence. It's not the best ult in the game. Actually, maybe it is, but it's one of the best ults in the game. And certainly when it's up against absolutely nothing, it's one of the best ults to have. It's one of the most flexible ults. It heals you, it does damage, but Italy, aggressive setup. I love this.
Oh, Hearthbeat a little bit missing that ground pound, but getting back to the point. Italy disengaging from that Coalescence from Epps. Not getting too many picks out of that as Sweden up by 2, losing their shield, but they should be able to chase and pressure Italy and take back the point.
I like the concept of the aggressive flanks, knowing that they're in the situation with significant ultimate disadvantage. They have nothing to work with. The only thing you can do is really try and surprise Sweden on the offense, but Sweden, a little too experienced, ready for that sort of setup, and they clear it out pretty easily, just cost them the Moira ult they were expecting to use. Although both teams now have a real chance of retaking this fight in the fight. You know, not too many ults online for either side. It's going to be very important who's trading more efficiently in these fights, who's getting that Gravitic Flux online first. Sound barrier, crucial ultimates, and their timings will be very relevant.
Italy loses fight. Sweden can take the first round. Urki looking for that juicy halt to shut down the Coalescence. Freyu dodges a bullet. Sweden back off towards the point. Wait out the Coalescence from Italy. Now it's their turn to go again. It's their turn for a Meteor Strike soon from Hearthbeat. The DPS from Italy a little bit low, playing this slow, as Sweden playing their corners.
Snillo looking good on this Reaper. He's moving in deeper. Gets uppercut by the Doom, but he's not scared. Still committing. Snillo, he's still alive on low HP, and if they can't shut down this Reaper, it will be fight over.
Oh, Gustav dies with barrier. Epps got so low, probably couldn't heal the rest of the team. It looked so winnable for Sweden. Italy still have one member. Sweden is starting to surround the last few players. Italy still staggering. It's 99% for Sweden. Italy using their supercharger. Who can really benefit from it? But look, it's Sweden coming in like a train. It's the barrier pressuring everyone from Italy back. And it should be the round for Sweden.
At this point, Sweden, they just have to stay alive. They've got the inevitability. Their spawners will be back first. Italy does find the flip in the middle of the fight, but Sweden, they're not concerned about that. It's not important. All that matters is winning the fight in the long term. Sound barrier does come out, but Italy, they need to move fast. They don't have much to follow that up.
Death Blossom punched away from Heartbeat. Italy, there's so many ultimates. It's chaos on this point. Italy just starting to get ahead. You kill Snillo, there's barely any damage left unless Urki with this meteor strike could get a juicy one, but this is the end for them. Italy bought themselves some time.
Also, coming back on the Hammond and managing to win the fight. The question is, can they win the defense? Although, also, I love this. So many players, I've seen him go on Hammond and stay it despite it being a really weak hero in the mirror match. He goes back to spawn, has the presence of mind to go back to Orisa. Even though he'll be late to the fight, you need an Orisa to keep up. I mean, it's just too easy to play Doomfist against a team that doesn't have an Orisa.
Last fight to claim this first round of potentially the final map. Cooldowns used early there from Italy. Time to engage here from Urki. Joins the rest of the team, but Heartbeat slams down on Urki. Big advantage now for Italy. Don't have a lot of ults, but maybe a Coalescence if they can last out this fight. Sweden want to play this slow. They're down Urki. They do have a barrier. Now it's their time to engage. Speeding into Italy, who counter with their own Coalescence. Both teams rather healthy, but Sweden now losing damage but not having a Reaper. Traded out from Lil Young. Both teams just equalizing back and forth.
Epps with the second Coalescence, so he has so much more value to offer in this fight. It's already over from the side of Freyu, so now it's Sweden that turns to flip the control back in their favor. It's 99-99, so this should be the round. Great patience by Epps with the later Coalescence, able to have that final checkmate move. Dominating in the endgame are Sweden, but wow, what an intensely scrappy fight there. So many fights. I mean, I thought Sweden had that one, then I thought Italy had that one, and then somehow Sweden brings it back. I mean, everyone winning the fights that they shouldn't win. I think that's a map where the moment you get a little too cocky and you try and end the game, you try and move to the enemy side of the map, you take such a huge risk crossing those pillars, moving around away from your own healers so that you potentially break those lines of sight can be really, really risky. And we've seen it bite both of those teams in that round, but Sweden comes out with the Rhine win, and now just one Koth round away from punching their ticket out of this elimination hellscape. Nobody wants to be here. One win and you go home. That's the worst way to play. So Sweden about to escape that, hopefully, if they can just win here on the next map of Busan.
It's like a fire alarm was kind of a blessing for Sweden ever since it became lit. They've been winning every map, but we'll see how this round will end. Sweden, Reaper Doomfist, Mirror on the other side. Middle map control. About taking angles with these shields. Look how aggressive Sweden plays their shields, just going right past Italy and punishing Lil Young. Italy now with only a Doomfist, getting out of that fight, not getting any more ult charge there to Sweden.
Sweden, this looks like a new team Sweden here, just so decisive on mid, immediately attacking. It feels like in previous rounds they've been a lot more defensive, a lot more interested in building their own setup and playing defensively from there, but now Italy trying to cross the choke while someone's forced to cap.
Someone's capping. Sweden will start to benefit from how long these fights are going to take, but Italy ready to clap back. They don't have Coalescence yet, so Epps going to get a big advantage from this. Halted up. Italy taking so much damage. They're going to use a Coalescence. They tried to punish Urki, who got so low, gets back into safety. Sweden trying to get back towards the point. Losing. Both teams lose their Orissas. It's up to these Sigmas how well they can protect their DPS going on these flanks. But Sweden losing their Moira, that could be the end of the fight right there for them.
Losing Epps should be the end of this fight, but Italy trying to get this flip cleanly. Sweden doesn't want to have any of that. They're attacking from all sides. This is a great try and refight here from Sweden. They're not really committing important resources, just buying a lot of time here, charging up a lot of their own ults. They played that well despite being down 2. They made that fight last a little longer than expected, although now it's Italy's turn to be in control of point, be in control of this choke. You know, we've seen teams fail time and time again trying to just get out of this choke, much less win a fight on offense here. So, you know, I could see a defender doing better than Sweden was able to accomplish with that first cap.
There's just minor differences between ult economy here. This is an equalized fight, but Italy having a better positioning in the middle of the map. Sweden trying to get through choke. Italy let them through. Gravitic Flux first from Dragonetti, countered by the barrier from Gustav. Sweden guide themselves towards the point. Lil Young ready with the Death Blossom. He could be going through a flank through the staircase, but just wants to protect his team. Death Blossom out of nowhere from Snillo catches a bit of Italy off guard. competing, playing so well together. Don't want to give up too much more time to Italy. Even another Death Blossom thrown, but that's Sweden's fight.
A little bit of a thrown away Death Blossom there from Lil Young. It's not the most important ult, but I think it's still a mistake to be using it in a fight like that, down so many players. He just gets booped away and gets nothing regardless. You could have seen that fight going differently, but Sweden instantly retaking control. One fight going each way so far. Now, though, Adnar's sound barrier is a little bit open here. Will they dive in? Instant dive in.
Oh, Losish is so low. Sweden down one shield. Elibo trying to stabilize the Gravitic Flux, but it was countered by Adnar's barrier. Italy now can chase towards the point. Sweden just want to stall this out, so maybe Losish can get back in time. Italy against the coast side. Meteor Strike versus Meteor Strike, looking for the hold, but Losish might not be back to set it up. Still, Sweden burning a lot of time, not necessarily dying, and this could be Losish getting back into the fight and things going back to 6v6.
It is a 66, but Italy have built up a stable resource advantage, but Losish turns it around. Now it's Asso's turn to fall. Long fight should favor Sweden, especially considering they have control. Things are looking really bad for Italy. It's time for them to turn the next fight. They have one attempt left, one attempt for their tournament lives, and it's desperate. Sweden doesn't want to give it back, chasing all the way into the spawn.
2 players down from Italy, 91+%. Someone has to touch, or Italy's journey will end here to Sweden, and they will move to the group stage. There's Asso, immediately canceled. Italy making their way towards the point. Heartbeat dying. Sweden looking for more blood, and Italy not tasting the victory they were looking for. They put up such a good fight against Sweden. Sweden sweat, but they never falter. Sweden take the 3-1 over Italy and go to group stage.
Very impressive stuff from Sweden, stumbling a little bit earlier on in the series, but turning it back around, and once the momentum swung their way, it really just didn't go back. Still some very scrappy fights throughout those maps, but Sweden definitely feeling like they had the edge as things went on. Italy maybe just losing a little bit of steam. Playing so many matches back-to-back can be rough, but Sweden, with the cool, calm, and collected play, despite losing map 1, drawing map 2, they can bring it back for the clean 3-0 sweep from there. So great stuff from them. They deserve to really move on here. I mean, there's a reason we think of them as the juggernaut of this stage, or of this group.
Moving on to Group A against opponents like South Korea, United States, and France. From what I can see on my paper here, that Group C winner faces United States and France. And again, the best records will move on to the finals bracket on Saturday, and one team will be eliminated from group stage. But your impression here, Jake, of Sweden, do you think there's a potential weakness, dent in the army because Italy were able to make this close?
Well, I mean, I would think that's less about Sweden really than about Italy. I mean, Sweden versus a weaker team like Colombia didn't seem close. Did not seem scrappy. Sweden were just kind of running away with the game, out-strategizing Colombia, especially Colombia committing to that diva strat. Really wasn't working out at all against the Doom Reaper. But Italy, they played the meta and they played it well. They understood the best heroes and they made them work. I mean, it wasn't quite enough to take the win, but I definitely want to give huge props to Team Italy. They are playing at a high level here. It's not huge blunders that's causing Sweden to win here. It's just edging it out in those small, the details of the fights. Who gets that first pick? Who can stay alive longer when they do lose one player? And that ends up being Sweden, but Italy, they shouldn't be disappointed with this result. Overall, I still think they're a great team with a lot of bright lights. Potentially we could see in future competitive Overwatch events.
Absolutely. These teams here to impress you guys and to have a showing and the biggest platform for them to do it on. And even this, we didn't even get to cast the series, but Japan versus Italy was equally as crazy of a match, game 6. And Japan, I think, is another team everyone expected to get far, but Sweden, I think everyone, they can cash in their bets. This was a team that everyone expected to make it through, but it was difficult for them.
I mean, as a remade team, I think the expectations were there, but they weren't firm yet for Sweden. I think people just assumed, it's a country that's always fielded a lot of great players. It just has a legacy in a lot of big esports, finding a lot of competitive success, especially in FPS titles. So it's a country that everyone just generally has high hopes for. But this new roster, without a lot of the old Swedish guard that you would think of as really their top players, now with all these new players, it's so important that they actually show out and that it's not just empty expectations. They need to fulfill that. I would say that they've met my expectations. They've advanced to the group stage. They're no longer in this elimination bracket format, which is the minimum I expect from Sweden. But the question now is, can they go further? Can they take down one of these true juggernauts of entirely Overwatch League players that, some of these other countries are able to field?
Of course. Well, that will be the end of our side of the broadcast. There are multiple broadcasts, so many teams fighting for their chance to get to the group stage. If you want to see more of me and Jake, we will be casting some of these matches tomorrow from Group A. South Korea versus I think maybe UK. We'll have to see what our matches are tomorrow. But Friday, check us out on this channel. But if you want to see some more Overwatch action from the World Cup, check out the other streams that Overwatch League and Overwatch Contenders have been posting. But that'll be the end of our broadcast. This was Lemon Kiwi. This was Jake. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you so much.